talk to these 20 people the way most Primericans talk to them, you're going to be lucky if you hire 8. The other 12 that would have done this business got completely turned off by the front end things that we were saying. Okay. So I'm telling you right now, the whole, hey, are you the kind of person that keeps your options open? No. Hey, if the money's right, would you consider a career change? No. Hey, you seem like a sharp person. Do you have your ear to the ground for opportunity? No, none of that stuff. I'm just telling you. And so much of it goes against, well, that's what we've always said. Yeah, but that's why people have to do numbers, especially today. Let me tell you right now, the best I've found, one of those that if I would have had this 30 years ago, it would have been life-changing for my business. The best front-end statement if you want to approach somebody. Okay. First of all, you need to have some kind of a conversation. Just don't walk up. Don't stand in front of Walmart. Obviously, we know don't do that stuff. The best way to hire people is to go about your walk of life. If it's cold market, is to go about your walk of life. And if you happen to see someone and you strike up a conversation, you want to talk to them, here's what you say. You say, hey, have you ever thought about getting a professional license? That's what you say. Have you ever thought about getting a professional license? And why do you say that? You say that because right off the bat, in their mind, you don't sound multi-level marketing, because multi-level marketing doesn't require a professional license. And they're usually going to say, what do you mean? That's the number one response you're going to get. If you're in a conversation, if you walk up to a stranger in Walmart or Target and go, hey, hi, have you ever thought, well, they're going to just think you're weird. Okay. But if you're having a conversation with somebody and you want to talk to them about the business, you say, hey, let me ask you, have you ever thought about getting a professional license? And they're going to say, what do you mean? And you're going to say, well, like real estate, for example. Right. Real estate's a kind of a business. It's a very popular go-to for people for extra money, career change, because it's just about anybody that has a clean background can get a real estate license, and then once they get it, they can go hang it and they can make some money part-time or full-time, Well, the business that I have is exactly like real estate, only with investment products. I say investment products. I don't say insurance. I don't say financial services, because financial services now is almost a cuss word because of all those dirty IUL companies recruit like crazy. They carpet bomb our markets, as you probably are aware of. And that's what they say. They say financial services. So I don't say, I say only with investment products. Or I might say, financial, various financial products maybe, but I don't say financial services. So my business that I have is the same way, only with the investment products or financial products, and the only reason I bring this up is you seem like a sharp person. And, I don't know if that's ever something you've ever considered. And they're probably going to be like, they're not going to be repulsed by you because you don't sound multi-level. And they're typically going to say, oh, well, gosh, no. And right then you need to end the conversation. You can't be a puppy dog peeing all over yourself and go, well, let's get together. Don't do that. Just say, well, you know what? And here's what you say. I'd love to be able to get you some information sometime. And they're going to say, sure. And then you don't say, can we set a time to get together? No, that's too affrontive. I'd love to get you some information sometime. And they're going to say, if they do, they might say, sure. And then you do not ask for their number, especially if you're a male talking to a female. But no matter what, do not ask for their number. Say, is there a way I can get a hold of you? And then is there a way I can get a hold of you? I don't know, email, social media, phone number, text, something like that. Most likely, if you say that, they're going to give you their number. And then you just say, well, my name is Shane. And what's your name? Great. And sorry, I hope I didn't bother you. No, not at all. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to probably shoot you a text, if not today, tomorrow morning. And then you just go. I'm telling you, if we would have had this, that right there will keep you will exponentially increase your ratios of getting people to meet with you one-on-one by that, because you don't sound goofy. You don't sound like a multi-lever. So I want you to remember that. Eliminate those words unless it's high level, like we're talking to Mark's RVPs and some of his high levels regionals. Other than this type of an environment, guys, I am telling you, you need to eliminate the word recruit. Okay. Eliminate it, because it is a cuss word and it is a total turnoff to new people. The worst thing you can have is guests on a Zoom meeting and you use the word recruiting during the Zoom. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for anti-multi-level. They don't want it. So I hope that makes sense to you. Yeah. Okay. Very important. Now, Mark asked me to segue into the 15 hours. Now, before I do that, I want to give you one more tip if that's okay. Can I do this, Mark?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Hey, you let it rip.
Okay, so here's where I'm at. All right. A year ago, August, I qualified for the legacy bonus. And a lot of people don't know what the legacy bonus is. I think I'm the 61st person in the history of the company that qualified for it. And what it means is your age plus how many years you've been an RVP equals 85. Yes, I'm an old fart. Okay. Um, and you're an SNSD and you have a ruby ring, which means you're technically $1 million earner. My income now is not over $1 million, but it was for a long time, right? It's still great. It hovers there. But anyway, you have a ruby ring. And at one point, since the new compensation, you qualify for an SNSD bonus, which means you're through third, that's 250,000 or more. Well, I hit my age thing last year. And so qualified for the legacy. Now, what that means is I don't have to have a base shop anymore. I don't have to have the $10,000 requirement to get all my bonuses. So it's a dream. It's a dream come true, to be honest with you. And, 35, 36 years now into this business and building it, when you talk about building a base shop, for me, I compare it to like a dentist, right? It's like, I've been a dentist for 36 years. It's been great to me. I'm really good at it. But if I never have to look inside someone's mouth again, I'm happy, kind of a thing. And that's kind of where I was with running a base shop. And so I took kind of a year off of that. I've been helping my RVPs. I've been plugged in. And just recently, I'm like, okay, this is stupid that I'm not out there trying to build. I want to build like 3 to 5 more RVPs in the next 36 months. So I've started talking to people. And here's my whole point here. I've got a great life. I am free. I'm financially independent. I'm a new empty nester for about a year and a half now. I play music, which is my favorite hobby, right? I'm in a little music gig. It's fun. I love my life. I'm traveling, so the idea of me going back and talking to a bunch of people and field training a bunch of people that aren't serious and getting in the trenches is just not appealing. It's not at all to me. So my thing is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it very, very smart. And then you think, well, why wouldn't anybody just do that? Why wouldn't anybody just build it smart? Right. And so as I did this, here's what I found. Because remember, we're talking about a culture shift, especially post-COVID and these Gen Zs and even millennials. Okay. It's a different mentality. When I'm on a recruiting interview, I'm on a first interview. Okay. So I met him. We're meeting somewhere. We're doing a one-on-one, whether it's Zoom or in person. I am 100% hiring them to the investment opportunity, not life and not building, not recruiting. Now I'm going to tell you why. Now it's not subversive. It's not sneaky. But here's the deal, guys, especially people that are over 30. They have no interest in selling life insurance. We didn't want to sell life insurance. We just recognized the opportunity, and then we saw the crusade and we got behind it. But on the front end, none of us on this call got out of high school or college and said, my dream is to sell life insurance. No, it's like the last thing, right? Well, that thought is even more pervasive today because of all these IUL companies. They've scorched our market, and I'm sure you've experienced that. So I talk about, this is what we do. I'll show the theory to decreasing responsibility. On a first interview appointment, I mean, I'll talk about the company briefly, but I'm not going to get into the rule of 72. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the doll bar. Nobody cares that Primerica is one of the top, employers for women in the Atlanta area. Nobody cares about this crap. I've taken my interview down to about 15 minutes in terms of, this is who we are. This is what we do. Okay. I'll do the theory. I do not talk about licensing. I understand that a first interview, the whole point of that is to get them in front of me again tomorrow or the next day, 24 to 48 hours. And we'll talk about the 15 hours in a second. So I'll say things like, if we get back together, I'll get more into licensing. It's not a hard process, but I'll walk you through it and the pre-licensing process. If we get together again, I'm going to get more into detail. I'm going to explain you how investments work. I'm going to explain more detail. I'll show you like our online platform, Primerica Online. I'm going to show you the FNA, whatever. I want to entice them to want to get together with me again. The worst thing you could do on a first interview is end it by talking about the IBA and $124. You just killed it. For most people, you killed it, because no matter how much they liked it, they're going to drive away from that appointment thinking, I got to pay money and sign up for something. And that's a turnoff. So you just say, if we get together again, I'll get more into the licensing process. Oh, okay. Make them want more information. Make them want to meet with you the next day, right? The problem with so many people's interviews in this business, if they is it's their first interview, say it's 30 minutes to an hour, and it's so information based that they give people perceivedly enough information that they feel they can make a decision as to whether or not they want to do it. And they don't have enough information. So instead, you take it away. This is who we are. This is a theory. What we do is not unique. It's who we do it for that's unique. You know, other financial planners, wealth builders, Merrill Lynch, they do the same thing, but they target the top 4% of the population, right? People with investable wealth of $100,000 or more, which means at any given point, these people can write a check for $100,000 or more. And I don't know about you, but for people that I know, that eliminates the vast majority of them. We do the same thing, but we eliminate the minimums. We don't charge. We do the same thing. And here is your basic financial plan. And I'm tentative to use the word basic because it almost cheapens it, but nobody has this. And let me show you. And I'm going to show them the theory. Mutual funds, investment. That's all they need to know about who we are and what we do. That's enough. And I'm going to keep littering that throughout the process of, if we get together again, I will give you a lot more information about how these products work. I'm going to keep saying that because I want them to if I pique their interest, I want them to want to get back together with me to get the information. Yes, there are licenses required. It's not difficult at all. It's pretty easy, actually. But again, if we get together again, I'll get into the licensing process. What I really focus on is the securities opportunity, because nobody wants to be introduced to something that sells life insurance, and nobody wants to be introduced to something that's recruiting based. So I don't get into that. I refer to it as agency. There's an agency opportunity. It makes us very, very unique. Again, if we get together, I'll get a lot more into that. I don't get a whole lot into that, right? The worst thing that you can do is try to do a recruiting appointment. And I am using recruiting for you guys here. Yes. The worst thing you could do is a recruiting appointment where you talk nothing about life insurance and the opportunity for them to hire people, because that's not what they're looking for. I'm just telling you, get into it in a second, but here's what they love. Here's what's sexy. Here's what's fancy and credible: the investment opportunity. Okay, so let me throw that at you real quick if I can. Am I okay, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let me throw this at you. Let me look at my battery. My computer is messed up, so it doesn't charge while I'm doing this. So I've got my screen all the way dimmed. Okay, the investment opportunity. We'll talk about who we do. I want to talk about what we do is not unique. It's who we do it for. We're mainly talking about the overall basic financial planning, primarily the investments. Okay, you guys on this call, are you? I know you know this, but have you really let it sunk in of what we do? Letting people get into the top performing mutual funds in the world for as little as $50 a month. I mean, how insane that is. And has it sunk into you that we are not one of? We are the only company in America that allows people to get an investment license as a 1099 employee or contractor with no minimums, no quotas, and get in this business. Do you know how powerful that is? The future of financial product sales is investments. But if you want to get into that industry, you got to have a college degree. And nowadays they want experience. Well, how are you supposed to get experience if no one will hire you if you don't have experience, right? That's how tough it is. And if you go to work for an Edward Jones or a Merrill Lynch, you got to quit whatever job you had, and you are thrown in the freaking lion's den, and you've got intense hours. You've got intense quotas to hit. It is not fun. And if you don't hit those quotas, you're a dead stick, and you're giving up at least half of your commissions to the company until you get through your training period, which could last up to a year. It's rough, man. And here we are allowing people to get this license that's a 1099 independent company, just like real estate. It's enormous. So my question to you guys on this call is, why are we not selling that? Why are our interviews always filled with life insurance and recruiting, which are the two things that are the least appealing on a front end to a new person who's considering joining our business? Think about that. So let me give you, I'm not going to give you like word for word what we do, but let me just give you an idea. Talk about the opportunity that we have with this. I'm going to say that we're the only company, right? So I use the term micro community. So Mark, let me give you an idea. Okay, Mark, where do you live? You live in Phoenix area, right? Okay, that's a big area, Mark. So your area, there's probably a couple thousand micro communities, if not more. But typical areas, there might be a couple hundred what I call micro communities. So let me tell you what a micro community is, Mark. This is you. You're a hardworking construction worker. You, let's say you're married. You, your wife, your initial family, friends, and close acquaintances, and their initial family and friends, non-acquaintances. So your micro community is your initial family and friends and acquaintances, and every one of them, their initial family and friends. Now that micro community, I promise you, is made up of hundreds of people. Okay. I don't know about you, Mark, but let me tell you what most of these micro communities look like. Most of them are hardworking, trying to get by. They don't have investable wealth. There might be less than 5-10% of your community that has the services of like a Merrill Lynch or a wealth manager or somebody. Everybody else is just out trying to get by. And he's nodding his head like he's doing right now. He's like, yeah, that's me. These people have nobody to turn to. If you were to come here, Mark, and all you did was just focus on the investment aspect of this business, and we do it for $50 a month also. And you might start off with just doing some college funds and some IRAs, some small rollers. But let me tell you what's going to happen with you and your credibility. This especially works with an over 30 crowd. With you and your credibility, Mark, it's not going to take long for word to get out. And the minute you go see someone who's maybe, say, retired, and you roll over their $80,000, $200,000 401k, they're going to tell their friends. See, nobody refers their friends to insurance, but they refer their friends to investments. And there's not a doubt in my mind, Mark, that if you just have somewhat of a pace, part-time, right? If you have somewhat of a pace, within 18 to 36 months, depending on your pace, you can have established yourself as the go-to person in that micro community. And I have people right and left, and there's not a doubt in my mind. How old are you, Mark? You're 55 years old. Let's just say, I'm just saying you're 55. Let's say you're over 50. You want to tell their story, okay? Like, Mark, you're 50 years old. Look, I don't know about you, Mark. This is how you tell their story, is you say, I don't know about you, but for most people your age, for most people in your situation, you see, if you're talking about most people, I'm sucking him in and he's going, yeah. But if I say, tell me about you and let me ask you a bunch of questions and blah, 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 blah. Now you built up. I say, look, Mark, I don't know about you, but let me tell you about most people in your situation, 50 and above. They're staring down the barrel of retirement and they're scared. They know they don't have enough money saved. And to make matters worse, they don't make enough to save enough to have enough. So they're thinking things like, am I going to work until I can't work any longer? Am I going to end up living with my kids? They're scared. And the thing about retirement is people don't necessarily need money saved. They need passive income, money that's coming into them where they don't have to work for it. It's just for most people to get that passive income over the years, they need to have money saved so they can live off it. Our investment opportunity, I'm explaining how it gets. I'm not going to get into commission levels, but I'm going to explain like there's 3 ways to get paid. There's initial money going in, there's lump sums, and there's assets under management bonuses here, right? Or commissions, compensation. But I'm talking about like you get paid down the road. And Mark, you understand, you become the go-to person in this thing. It's realistic, depending on your pace. Let's just say worst case, 5 to 10 years, you're 60 years old. You've got enough passive income built that you can retire, right? You tell their story. They like that. Now let's reverse it. Let's go to the 26-year-old, right? These Gen Zs. Look, I don't know about you, but let me tell you where most people are your age today. You're the first generation to reach adulthood, to look at your parents and say, I love you, but I don't want your life. Okay. You've seen your generation has seen your parents work to the bone to barely get by. And you don't want that. You respect it. You love them, but you don't want that. Right. You're the first generation that's questioning college. You're realizing that, I don't know, man. I mean, I see a lot of people, 56% of people that go to college they quit. And the ones that do get a degree, most of them aren't making any more money than my friends that didn't go to college. They're questioning. I'm not putting down college. This is a fact. The independence level of your generation is the worst it's ever been. In other words, the average age of Gen Zs when they're able to move out on their own is 26 years old. Because you've got the biggest income versus cost of living disparage in the history of this country, right? I mean, in California, you might be making $20 an hour, but you need 3 times that to live, right? And not only that, but your generation was raised on social media. So you know that there's a life out there. There's a world out there and you want it. And one thing about when it comes about doing what you do for a living, you don't want a job. So what are you supposed to do? This business, just the opportunity, investment opportunity alone, gives your generation the chance to come here, get a professional license, set your own hours. You're free from the beginning when you can go full time, obviously. And you can get to a point. How old are you, Mark? I'm 26 years old. Do you understand that by the time you're 30, because you don't make a whole lot of money, and no offense, by the time you're 30 at the latest, you can already have that kind of passive income built, and you could be free and financially independent by the time you're 30. You're not wealthy yet. Right? So I'm telling you guys, I could go on. I don't want to kill our time doing this, but the securities opportunity is so sexy and so appealing and makes so much sense to people. And above all, it's credible.
Yeah.
Now, once you get going and you've met with them, you're going to talk about the other stuff, and you're going to let it a little bit of the way I just tell people, look, the way the industry works, you got to get a life license first. It's just the way it is. And they go, okay, I don't care. Right now, having said that, let's get into the 15 hours, which was Mark's initial question. Sorry for my long filibuster there.
I love it.
But the 15 hours, I got this from Hector Lamarck years and years and years ago. Okay. Hector is such a good man. I'm not in his organization. I'm direct to Mike Sharp. But when I was young and starving and broke and just moved to Fresno, my buddy Roosevelt Curvy up in Sacramento, man, we went to Hector and just like, hey, Hector, can we just sit into your once a month RVP meetings? And he was so gracious because he was pretty hardcore about not everybody could come. So thank God he let us. And it was life changing. I mean, Hector is amazing. But Hector said this. He said it takes 15 hours to recruit somebody. And then he said, look, when I define recruiting, I'm not talking about getting their paperwork and signing up. I'm talking about they're here, they can go to a Sunday picnic, get beat on by their father-in-law, and they're still going to show up the next day and set appointments. Okay, 15 hours to get them in. Now, over the years, what I did is I amended that. And I asked Hector, and he's like, yeah, it makes sense. I said, it takes 15 hours to hire somebody, but you got to get those 15 hours out of the way in the first 10 to 12 days. And that is way easier said than done. I get that. Okay. Because what are you supposed to do if I do a first appointment with Mark and it goes great and he tells me, oh, by the way, we're going on a cruise tomorrow for 10 days. I had no way of knowing that. It's like crap, right? So, but here's the problem. The concern, if you will, is too many representatives, too many people like us do not take the 15 hours seriously because they think their people are different and they're not. No, you don't understand, Mark. It went so good. They were like saying things like, thank God, and I'm an answer to prayer, and they've been waiting for, no, they're good. We met yesterday on Monday, and I'm going to give them a call on Thursday, and they're going to let me know their schedule. And I'm like, I will bet you pink slips that when you call them Thursday, if they even ever answer your call, which they probably won't, you're going to call them, and they're going to go, oh, I thought about it, and I just write all the stuff we ever hear. Now, guys, look, I want to tell you something. When you make it big here, okay, RVP, multiple diamonds, that's big. When you get to that point, you will have gotten to that point because you're pretty much good at everything, but you're going to realize there's specific things that you're great at. Every one of you. I guarantee you, Mark knows the parts where he's great at, right? But one of the things that I'm great at is I have a natural knack for understanding people. I understand you better than you understand yourself. Now, it's not by accident. 25 years ago, maybe a little longer, and when I moved to Fresno, YouTube wasn't around back then. So I was literally buying college psychology textbooks because I wanted to understand why our species is just so weird. You know what I mean? How do you explain someone who hates their job, hates their life, hates the school their kids go to, they're broke, they chase money, not because they're greedy, but because they never have enough. And someone like me comes into their life and shows them this opportunity to change their life, believes them, going to work with them, and they say no. Like, how do you explain that? I don't. So I learned about people. Here's the thing you've got to understand about the 15 hours, why it's so important. When someone gets introduced to this opportunity, whether it's in an op meeting or typically nowadays in an interview type situation, they're excited. Let's say, I want to tell you the way the human psyche works. Not psycho. I'd be talking about Mark if I said psycho. But anyway, but here's how the human psyche works, especially us that were not raised in a success-backed background. In other words, we were all raised with the middle class mentality, and that's a whole other subject for another day. But the way the psyche works is, excited as they are, they're going to go to bed that night. And when they wake up the next morning, on a subconscious level, if not a conscious level, They're thinking of all the reasons why this isn't, why they shouldn't, and how they can't. Period. If you don't get back in there 24 to 48 hours, you will lose them. You've got to get back in there. You have to. Okay. The 15 hours needs to be comprised of, let me tell you another thing that's changed. Another thing that's changed. And this is, I get me saying, don't ever use the word recruiting. That's kind of controversial in a sense. This next thing I'm going to say is a little controversial also. The days of hiring an average person, normal person, you hire them, they submit their IBA, pay their money, and the first thing you want them to do is put together a list of people they know. Done. That is too scary. Especially these Gen Zs. They're just, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't want to offend, but they're just so soft, right? There's just not a lot of toughness in that generation like there was with us. Not all of them, but most of them. So that's too scary. Okay. But even for someone in our generation, they're like, I'm not doing that. It doesn't work anymore. So here's the deal. I've always done this. Is you sell them on the 15, you don't use the word 15. I'm going to get 15 hours out of the way. You don't ever mention that. But you know that you got to get in front of them every 24 to 40. So you always said, like, look, if all I wanted to do today was pique your interest, all I want to do today is give you information, a little bit who we are, a little bit what we do. You don't know enough to really make an informed decision as far as you want to do it, but you know enough by now, Mark, to know whether or not this piques your interest. And if it does, the next step would be to meet tomorrow, the next day, as soon as we can. Let me let you know what we're going to do. At this time, all the stuff I showed you today, I'm going to really dive. I'm going to bring information. I'm going to show you how mutual funds work. I'm going to talk about what we do for people. I'm going to talk about the licensing and the getting started steps. Should we get to that point? I'm going to show you kind of our back office, if you will. And that's what new people want. That they want information. And I just tell them this, usually by the end of that next meeting, tomorrow, the next day, we'll both have a pretty good idea of whether or not this is worth pursuing. Okay. So tomorrow is just the next time we meet, rather, is just the information phase of this. Today was the introduction phase. That'll be information. So they know, number one, it's non-committal. So they're going to meet with you, and then you meet with them and you give them information. And usually it's at that way you're talking about licensing. You talk about the 124. You say, so if and when we get to a point where we decide we want to work together, if that should happen, then we'd want you to submit that as soon as possible. Okay. But I do need to let you know that we are not one of those dorky companies out there, right? That 124, I don't make any money off it. Nobody makes any money off it. $99 covers your own background check, and the 25. So I just want to let you know there's no money. This is not one of those companies where we just try to hire anybody and make a bunch of money. Right. But ideally, we'd want to do that as soon as possible. Okay. And it's usually that end of that second interview that you just say, hey, you don't want to say, are you interested? You just say, so do you have any questions? Just explain it out. And they say, yeah. And you say, it seems like this has piqued your interest enough that it might be something that you might want to at least look into. And they're like, yeah, just kind of feel it out at that point. My whole point is, don't push for the IBA. It'll come. If you have to meet with them 3 or 4 times, who cares? Right? The thing that I did, and the thing that needs to be done today, is I wish this company would redefine what recruiting is. But they don't. You got to understand, Primerica, they can't control what happens in the trenches like you and I can. They're not in the field. So they're kind of up on their perch, and there's only so much they can do. And all they can do is look at numbers. That's all Primerica could do. And God bless them. We'd be doing the same thing. All they could do is look at numbers. And their numbers are, if we hire X amount of people, if we recruit X amount of people, the next amount of people get licensed, and the amount of licenses will equal X amount of production. So all we can push is recruiting. So get a football helmet, get your 31st banner to hang in your office, right? Get a gaudy t-shirt that you would never wear out in public, right? All this kind of stuff, right? And it's all based on recruiting. They've even changed our language, which I'm sorry, no offense, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree with describing your business as 10 by 6 and 10 by, no, because recruiting is just like breathing. You shouldn't think about it. You shouldn't. No, let me stop right there. There's a difference between recruiting and building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I shouldn't even use the word recruiting. There's a difference between IBA collecting and building. And Primerica's built a culture of IBA collectors, right? And when they're not panning out, which they most don't, then the lazy leader's response, because it's all they've been taught, is, well, you just need to go talk to more people. And I'm sitting there pulling my hair out going, no, you don't. No, you don't. You just need to work smarter. Because here's my contention. And I would challenge anyone to challenge this. Other than stupid, dumb, fraudulent IBAs that people get to try to win a contest, which is pretty rare. I'm sure you guys don't do that, right? Most of the IBAs, if not every IBA that you get at that moment, that person wants to do this business. Mm-hmm. They want to do this business. But it's at that very moment that most recruiters get the IBA, high five themselves, think they've accomplished something, and now they're looking for their next one. And I hired 7 directs this month, and 3 months later, they're gone. I don't understand. And so their lazy leader says things like, well, you got to talk to more people. And then my favorite stupid phrase is, well, you know, some will, some won't. Next. It's like, no, those people, when they submitted their IBA, at that moment, they wanted to do this business. And it's at that moment you need to get in with them and do those 15 hours and make sure that they know that you love them and make sure you know that you believe in them, and you need to like build them and everything. You guys, I'll tell you something crazy here. Here's what I would do every year for 10 years in Fresno. January would come around, mm-hmm. and I would be on a mission. January, February, and March, my first 3 months. At that moment is where I'm going to do the numbers required personally to, by April 1st, I want to have hired 3 directs that I can spend the rest of the year building them into $10,000 premium legs. Okay. So if I was out recruiting and I found a Mark Hansotia and I'm like, okay, this guy, I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to build him because I don't need 50. I just need 3. Right? I would be pretty, not just any 3, they have to be good, right? But I did that. That's the only time I've ever like did the numbers and grin and bear it, go in the cold market, suck it up, take the rejection, get pissed off, you know, hate my life for 3 months, but I will find 3 people and I will spend the rest of the year building those 3 into $10,000 legs. And if every one of you did that for the next 3 years, at the end of 3 years, you'd have one of the biggest base shops in the company, right? But we don't talk about that. So you know what I mean? And so the 15 hours is about you getting them the information to back up what you said so they feel comfortable. And by backing up what you said to them, you're also building the crusade. Give me 3 or 4 meetings with Mark. And by the 3rd or 4th meeting, you know what he's probably saying? He's either bailed by now, or you know what he's saying? He's going to say something like this. He's like, well, Shane, he goes, hey, I don't know if it's okay, but I've already kind of mentioned this to some people. I mean, when can we go show this to people? That's what happens. You see, people look at their list, and let's just say they put together a list, and they go, what are they going to think? I don't want to bug them. I don't know. Right. And you say, put the list down. Don't worry about it. And you spend the next 2 or 3 meetings, I'm going to teach you about mutual funds and what makes us different. And my belief is everyone over 18 years old that has an income should have a mutual fund. There's no excuse because we can get it $50 a month. And let me show you what that would be for these people, right? Let's talk about the rollover opportunity. Let's talk about life insurance. It's a crusade. Here's why it's a crusade. It's not even life insurance. It's income protection. People think that their most valuable assets is their home and their retirement. It's not. It's them and their ability to earn an income. And that income provides a lifestyle for those dependent on them. If they die, that income stops. That lifestyle is in jeopardy. It's not life insurance. It's income insurance. And people go, I've never been explained like that. Yeah, exactly. It's a crusade. It's vital. If they're going to do it, they got to do it right. And they go, oh, wow, okay, I'm on board with the life insurance, right? And this is why. And you're talking about this stuff. And then you show them the F&A. I don't know if you guys do the F&A or not, but if you do, you show them the F&A. And it's like flexing. It's amazing. And you have them do their own during the 15 hours. We'll do it together. Here, fill this in, fill this in, fill this in. They go, this is awesome. And at that point, they're like, shit, I want to go show this to somebody. And you never even had to ask for a list. You see what I'm saying, guys, right? And you're building relationships. That's the point of the 15 hours. And I just talked a lot about that. I'm sorry, Mark. Let's turn this back over to you. That was a lot. I'm sorry. I'm excited about this stuff.
Oh my God. I'm telling you what, I am so reinvigorated. I genuinely feel like, I mean, you're 100% right. If we do this right, hell, in 12 months, we can all have minimum $50,000 base shops, no question about that.
Absolutely.
And,
Did you give them the PDF I sent you? Is that what you're
yep,
talking about? Okay,
yeah,
that
everyone read it.
attendance based business can go for Zoom. Obviously, you can
Yeah.
transpose that to Zoom 100%. The same thing. Yeah, I want them to know that.
I just love the concept because I've implemented the 15-hour rule whenever I'm personally training someone, but I haven't done a great job at reciprocating that to the base and to the hierarchy as much. It's a little it is kind of hard fighting an uphill battle because they get social media with Primerica, this, that,
Yeah.
recruit, all the incentives, everything is geared around what you said, collecting IBAs. And then, so like, I've got this guy that I just trained, or I mean, I just recruited a couple days ago, and he's got spending $600 a month in IULs.
Yeah.
And he's crusaded to the hell, but he, like you said, investment. So we started talking about his securities license right away.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I am
Well,
really
let me tell you
good.
this. This is my ADD kicking in. I'll get something off. If I don't say it right now, I'm going to forget it. We're talking about the 15 hours. We're talking about the front end. Um, you are never, ever, ever, ever to do a first hiring appointment on a Friday. Ever. Ever. Don't ever do a first recruiting appointment on a Friday. Why? Because it is almost impossible to follow up on a Saturday and Sunday. And the 48 hours went by, and you're going to lose at least half of them. Okay. I will also say this, and this is no offense to anybody, but there's been a movement in the last 10 years, and I don't understand it, to move their meetings from Tuesday to Thursday night. And that's a horrible night to do a meeting. Now, some people have to. Some people are doing in-person meetings, and that's the only night that their meeting room is available. That just, okay, that is what it is. And you're not going to crucify them for that. But here's a problem. If you're meeting once a week and it is opportunity based, so people are trying to get new people there, whether it's in person or Zoom, and it's on a Thursday, again, good luck following up with them on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Yeah.
Right? So stay away from doing your meetings. If you're doing opportunity based meetings, avoid those on Thursdays, and don't ever, no matter any circumstance, do a recruiting appointment on a Friday. But you could do one on a Sunday, because you could follow up on Monday or Tuesday, right? But I'd be very wary of Fridays or Saturdays. And also, the thing about Fridays is everybody loves their jobs and their lives on Friday, right? The best way to do one, the best day would obviously be Monday, because everybody hates their job and hates their life on Monday, right? So just something to think about there.
I love it, Shane. I want to open it up for questions. And I'm really appreciative. We talked on the phone real briefly this morning, and I definitely want to collaborate a lot with you.
Yeah, I'd love it for sure.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is, we're going to take this base shop to a whole nother level, and anyone who wants to ride that wagon is going to be, excited. So, let's open it up for questions. What clarity do you guys need? We can start with you, Yesenia, or Jasmine, whatever you guys want.
I have a question. So thank you so much for hopping on. And I just gotta
Of
say, this
course.
is like reconfirmation for me. Like you were like, like prayers have been answered. We just had a talk about like securities right now during accountability, right, Mark? Which in this hierarchy, it's never done, and Shane, like everything that you're saying is just like God saying, like, I'm telling you, this is the way that you're supposed to go. Right. So thank you
Thank,
for that.
thank you.
We hear a lot like you gotta go through quantity to find quality, right? Um, where would you say that? Because, like, and we like Jazz and I, we've been here for 14 years, so we have a solid client base that we can continue to work in the warm market through. But some of our recruits, they don't, and so they are in the cold market. So how do you find a balance, or do you not find a balance? You know what I mean? Like you don't know who's gonna hop on that Zoom if
Right.
it's cold market.
Well,
So
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no. So where do you find that balance? How do you know like this person is who I'm going to invest into, this person is not, that type of thing?
Okay. When you're working with someone that has a warm market and they're at a point where they're ready to start building, and so you want them to think of people that they know, it's very important that you have them think of people that would be good at this business, not those that need it. Okay. It's very easy, as you guys know, to hire down instead of equal or up. There's a big difference between people that would be great at this business. Those are people with credibility mainly. People listen to, and they're good people. Now, out in the in life, cold market, things like that. You're right. You can never tell who's going to be the winner. The minute we go out there and start trying to judge without getting to know people, I mean, you can't do that, right? And obviously there's numbers involved because not everyone's going to join the business, right? But
Right.
how can you kind of mitigate that? Well, anyone who says they want to do this business, unless they've got Kill Mama tattooed on their forehead, you're going to let them do the business, right? But there's a difference between letting someone who wants to do this business do the business versus the people that you actually, like I said, you find your three, versus the people that you actually get in tight, like I'm going to build with this person. So you're looking for qualified people. And this is what I would do on my first 3 months. And in that PDF, it talks about what's a qualified person. They have a market. So if you just hired someone, let's say they're young and they're going to ASU, and you're like, they just moved here from Montana, like that's going to be tough. Now, if they want to do the business, I'm going to give them the opportunity and I'm going to support them. But that's most likely not one of my $10,000 legs this year because there's already strike one. They don't have a market, right? So you're looking for people with a market, people that have credibility in their market. That's huge, right? I'm hiring Mark and he's tried everything under the sun. And he calls someone to set an appointment, and you can hear the guy's wife in the background going, "Oh my God, what's he selling now?" You're going to be fighting an uphill battle with that. Now, again, if Mark wants to do it, I'm not going to say no, but as far as who am I going to really dive in with? So market, credibility with their market, willing to take you to their market. Now, look, I said, don't worry about the list, but at some point during the 15 hours, you need to have the conversation. We do want to get you going. And if they're like, "No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to wait till I'm licensed," that's a red flag. Now they can wait till they're licensed and maybe they'll do something, but they're most likely not going to be one of your $10,000 legs this year. Okay. So market, credibility within their market, willing to take you to market. Number 4, they're coachable, right? Coachability is everything. They've got an attitude, "Hey, if you can teach, I can learn." And number 5, they show up. And those are not in order of importance. I would put number 5 almost at the top because you guys, we all know that somebody that doesn't regularly attend meetings will never make it in this business. I would always tell people, still do, like, look, I'm never going to demand that you produce. I'm never going to demand that you go out there and work 20 hours a day. The only thing that I ask, it's not even really a demand, but the only thing that I ask is that you show up, okay, to our Tuesday night meetings, right? Saturdays too, but if you're working Saturdays, I understand that. Because the reality is, if you don't regularly show up, I know that there's no way you're going to stick around. And I'm not to sound like a jerk, but I just can't work with you. I won't work with you, right? Things happen. You'll miss a meeting. I miss meetings, right? Maybe you've got a work schedule. And so if you work Tuesday nights, am I saying you can't do this business? No, but let's just get to know each other. Let me give you the information. And if you do decide you want to do the business, it would be great to see you change that, so you have Tuesdays free. Those are the 5 qualifications. The mistake that people make when they hear me talk about this build $10,000 legs is they think the next 3 people they hire are going to do that, and they waste time trying to build people that aren't qualified. So does it make sense? So anyone that wants to do the business, of course, we're going to bring them into the business. But as far as who are we going to sink our teeth into, who can be a $10,000 leg, we're looking for those qualified people.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Shane. I'll let everybody, I want to give everybody a fair turn as well. So,
yeah. Great question, Yesenia. Who else has a question? Angel, go ahead. I
necessarily have a question, Shane, and thank you again for your time. I mean, my hands hurt. I've been typing away. But I just want to go back to a couple of things that I kind of missed. The ways to get paid on the investment side. You had said lump sum. You had said a couple of other things, right? You said lump sum, and there's some passive stuff, right?
I say the PACs, right? Which is their normal common thing, right? Monthly automatic draft. You know what that is, but that's what I say to them. Then there's lump sum, initial investments, and then there's the assets under management, which I think you have to be a regional and above to get that, but I don't get into that really. They don't need to know right now, but that is, as you build your assets under management, every month you get the very, very small percentage paid on that, but it adds up over time. And other than the lump sum, well, actually everything is passive, because even the lump sums you get paid immediately. And after a year, you're going to get that assets under management, guys, this business, this is so big. If I could just digress for a second. My ex-wife, Deneen, we're very close. We're great friends. And her husband, Rich, He used to be an RVP back in the day, rolled back years and years ago, and he's had a job at a software company. And he's known since COVID that he's going to get laid off. He's upper management. That's what they do. They've been bought out a million times. Well, sure enough, back in May, he got let go. And he came to me and said, hey, I think I want to give this a shot. And I said, he goes, mainly the investment thing, like you've been talking about. I go, do it. You know, he did. He did ask his RVP if he can get his RVP contract back, and Cheryl Bartlett, and she's amazing. And so she gave it to him, which was awesome for Cheryl to do that. She's such a good person. So now he is an RVP. In May, his 12-month income was like $4,000 because he hadn't done anything the prior 12 months. This is May. Last month, October or September, he got his ring. He got his ring. I don't know what he made last month, but I got to think he made close to 40,000 again. He said like 3 months since May where he's made over $25,000. It's all investments. And what he's doing right now is what everybody will do. The minute you get that first big investment, they lead you to people. And he is just on a string of $1 million investments. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but he got his rings in May, June, July, August, September, 5 months. That is realistic. That, you know how big this is, guys. My bandmate, one of my best friends, Jen, she and I play music together. I play guitar and she sings, and we got a little Jane and Shane, you know, and it's fun. I love it so much. But Jen's she's a personal trainer, and she runs a gym out of her house. Look, she's a single mom. I love her, but she ain't making any money. She's always struggling. I mean, she needs the band. She needs the music money just to keep gas in the car, food on the table. But she's 52 years old. The average demographic, between she and I and her band, that she's had a band for 10 years, their following average age is probably 61, 62 years old. And everybody loves Jen. I went to her a couple months ago. I go, look, man, you need to get your investment license. She'll get her life too. And I explained it to her, and she's doing it. And with that lady, I'm just telling you, everybody loves Jen so much. These people have money. I promise you, when she gets her license, she'll make $100,000 her first 12 months. There's not a doubt in my mind. This investment opportunity is so big. Okay, let's go back to you and go back to your question. You had more questions. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I mean, you're inspiring me. I mean, I don't even have my SIE just yet. I'm going to be taking that this month, or I lose my hair. So I'm going to get it. You know, the other thing, I mean, I don't even know what to ask, but I see this thing where you said the 15 hours takes 15 hours to recruit somebody, right? Basically that happened to me. A lot of people were just coming after me, like, what are you doing, right? I guess what I really want to know, I guess what I want to ask is you can't necessarily force someone to keep doing this, right, Shane? At the end of the day, and what would you say are the things that you start off with? You started with the theory of Christian possibility. That's what I heard, right? But where would you go with that? Would you go with
Are you talking about an interview situation?
Yeah, interview situation. That's correct.
The first thing you do is you talk about them. You hear like, what do you do? Are you from the area? Oh, you are. What school did you graduate from? Did you go to college? What do you do? How long you been there? You know, do you like it? Right? Are you married? Kids? Do you live near here? I mean, let them talk about themselves. Do that. Don't just get right into it. And then don't talk a lot about yourself, but at the same time, you could just say, look, all I want to do today is give you kind of a basic idea who we are, what we do. I talked to you because you seem like a sharp guy. And, and by the end of the day, you'll have enough information to know whether or not this piques your interest, and vice versa.
Okay.
And then you're going to talk a little bit about it. Now you talk about the negative stuff about Primerica, and obviously that's always been a battle that we've had to wage. That is a situation where he or she who speaks first wins. In other words, if you don't say anything and their friend says, oh, that's a scam, I had someone that did that, you're going to lose. So you have to say it. So by the end of that first interview, well, when you get these, say that we work for a company, the company we represent the products of a company called Primerica. Have you ever heard of them? And if they say yes, then you say, would you mind if I ask what you heard? And the reason I ask is because we're number one at almost everything we do, but we're very, very disliked by the industry. And over the last 30 years, they put so much negative stuff out there. So I'm going to be real honest with you. Most people that have heard of us, it probably hasn't been positive. And if that's them, let them talk about it. You're not defensive. You're like, no, that's not true. The best thing to do is laugh at it. I mean, if I didn't know Mark, if he was an acquaintance, and he said, Shane, I heard one of your favorite things to do is to, like, kill people's pets. I wouldn't sit there and go like, no, I don't. Who told you that? You know what he'd say? I do. I'd laugh. I go, what? Okay, sure. Wait, you're joking, right? Wait, are you serious? Really? Right? I wouldn't. It's when people get all defensive, like, no, we're not a pyramid. And here's why. The best thing you could do is just laugh. Say, that's what everybody says. I say, you know what? I wish this was a pyramid. It'd probably be a lot easier. But you got to let them, have you ever heard of the company? And they say no. And you say, okay, well, good. We'll get more into that and let it go. You talk about who we are, just a couple minutes. If you want to show some here, let me say this, guys. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. You cannot have a recruiting presentation. Don't ever use an opportunity or recruiting brochure ever. If you're doing a client presentation, if your client presentation has a segment in there about the opportunity, get rid of it. Because the only companies that have recruiting presentations are multi-level companies. You understand that, right? The best interview you can do, I write on my iPad or write on a piece of write on a Starbucks napkin. Those are the best interviews you can do. You don't want to look like you're a professional recruiter. You don't want to be so polished and pull out this great presentation, because on a subconscious level in their mind, it's like, well, this is what he or she does. I'm just another person, another number. But if you come across like, I don't do this very often, I'm not even that good at it, right? I'm just talking to you. Here. Can I borrow that piece of paper? Here, let me show you something. That looks good. Trust me. Don't use a recruiting brochure. Ever. Don't use a recruiting present. Do you know how bad Primerica's recruiting stuff is? I mean, that one slide of like a person with 3 lines and other people, that's got multi-level written all over it. It's awful. And people actually use that crap, right? They wonder why they got to do the numbers. Anyway, so who we are, this is who we are. And I always introduce it by saying, look, what makes us unique as far as what we do is not what we do. It's who we do it for. That's a very credible thing to say, because I'll say what makes us unique is not what we do, but who we do it for. In other words, there's a lot of companies that do what we do, which is basic and advanced financial planning. But these are companies like Merrill Lynch, Dean Witter, Edward Jones, wealth managers, people like that. And the problem with that is they typically target the top 3 to 4% of the population. And this is anybody that has what is considered in the industry investable wealth. And investable wealth, as far as the industry standards, is anyone that at any given point can write a check for $100,000 or more to an investment. And Mark, I don't know about you, but where I come from, that's not very many people. And he's going to agree with me. Yeah, I don't know many like that. So all the other 96, 97% of the population, they're out there left to fend for themselves. And they get preyed upon by credit card companies, banks, life insurance companies, people like that, right? They especially after COVID, where COVID caused people to wake up and realize they need to get smart with their money, but they don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to and what to say. And it can be intimidating. That's our market. And here's what makes us different. As you'll learn, we've eliminated the minimums, which I'll get into. We don't charge for our services, and we are educational based, not sales based. That's very important. As we get into that, you're going to learn that, because nobody wants to do sales. And it is true. That's a true statement, right? We don't go in there and sell. We educate. Nobody wants to be a salesperson, but everybody wants to be an educator and help people, right? So by telling people, though, our process of acquiring, working with clients is educational based, not sales based. So then I'm going to show them, there's a lot to get into here, Mark. But again, today is really not about information. It's more about introduction. Yeah. By the end of the day, if anything you've seen, if it does pique your interest, in the next step, we'll get together again the next day or two, where I will back it up and actually start getting in the information and teach you about this. But for today, I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to draw out the theory of decreasing responsibility. And I'm going to say, this is the basic financial plan. Now, I'm tentative to use the word basic because that could come across as cheap. It's not, but as basic as it is, it's shocking that so few have ever heard of it, much less have this working for them. Yeah. And I'm going to do the theory. That's the main thing. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to go, this makes sense, right? They're going to go, God, it makes total sense. Yet, and I'm going to say, yet less than 5% of the population has ever seen this, much less has this working for them. And this is what we do for people. Right. And I might touch on term real quick. But I'm not going to go on a diatribe about the evils of cash value. That's for another time. I'm going to do mutual funds. And on these mutual funds, I'm going to say, are you familiar with mutual funds? And they're typically going to go, oh, not really. And I'm going to say, you know what, Mark, if you're like most, you've probably heard about mutual funds. You really don't know what they are, but you know you should have one, right? He's like, yeah, right. That's kind of, well, again, if we get together the next time, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about mutual funds. It's actually not that hard. But what you do need to know is they are, over time, the safest and best performing investments in America. But here's a problem. If someone were to walk into a Merrill Lynch, they want at least $100,000 to open an account. What makes us unique is we represent, our company, PFS Investments, we're a broker, dealer. We sell the exact same funds that these other companies sell. It's getting the same rates of return, but we allow people to get into these funds for as little as $50 a month. I think we might even have one or two that still allow 25. And I will just let you know right now that my personal stance, what I stand for, is I believe any adult, anybody 18 years or older that has an income should have a mutual fund. Don't tell me they can't afford it, because they don't need me to follow them around and track their weekend spending, right? Ha ha ha. Yeah, right. But the reason they don't is because they don't know. And this is probably the biggest part of what we do, right? So they're going in, they're going, okay. And then I'll tell them, I'll go, look, our delivery mechanism that we use for this is something called a financial needs analysis. And again, everything we do is free and complimentary. And it's just, we could be as basic or as comprehensive as we want with all things financial planning in their life. Again, if I don't have time today, but if we get together again, I'm going to show you one of those. So you see how I'm building that interest to make them want to kind of get together again, right? And then at that point, I'm typically going to get into the securities opportunity. And I'm going to typically segue into that by going, do you have any questions? Does this make sense to you? And they're going to be like, yeah, they never have questions. They do, but they're too afraid to ask. But I'll say, do you have any questions? Does this make sense to you? And they'll usually say, no, yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah. Well, let me just, for opportunity purposes, and I'm going to circle the mutual fund part of the theory. Let me just focus on this right now. Okay. I want to talk to you about the opportunity with the investments. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is we're the only company out there that allows people to get a professional investment license as a 1099 independent contractor, just like real estate. And I'm going to talk about how big this is. Okay, this is the future of the industry. It's the hottest part of this industry, always has been. It's a giant moneymaker, but it's so difficult for people to get into it because Merrill Lynch ain't going to hire someone like Shane Perry or Mark Ansodia. This ain't going to happen, right? We can get a job as a janitor maybe, but we ain't going to get on the 6th floor anytime soon, right? And how the magnitude of this. And that's when I'm going to get into the story of I'm not going to get into there's 3 ways to get paid. That's on the next one. But I am going to talk about the opportunity to build upfront and passive income. And I usually tell people this. I usually say at this point, I'll say, I already told you that I stand for anyone that has an income over 18 should have a mutual fund. And there's one other thing that I stand for. If anyone that knows me knows that I stand for 2 things. The second one is when it comes to what we do for a living, everybody needs to find a way to get free and financially independent. And this especially resonates to the younger crowd. Now, let me explain that to you. Freedom simply means that you're in business for yourself. You're your own boss. You set your own hours. You work when you want. You can't be fired or laid off. That's the hot button, by the way, because COVID freaked people out, right? You can't be fired or laid off. You're setting your own hours and you're in control of your day. That's freedom. Financial independence, though, is often misconstrued. It's not wealth. Financial independence is you have money coming to you on a recurring passive basis. In other words, money's coming to you regardless of your efforts. And when that money meets or exceeds your living expenses, you're financially independent. So, Mark, you're a young single guy. You know, let's just say you make let's just say you make $3,000 a month, and that covers your life right now, right? If all of a sudden you started getting a check every month for $3,000, you're not wealthy, but you're financially independent. You can leave your job, do what you want. You are independent of having to go earn that money. So there's a difference between financial independence and wealth. My stance is I believe when it comes to what we do for a living, we have been misled. Okay. I'll give you an example. And I do say this in the interview because you want to get them to think differently. I believe we've been misled. Okay. We've been taught since we were in elementary school all the way through college to be an employee, go to school, get a job, hold on to that job. We've been taught to be employees, yet every one of us knows people, either we know them personally or we know of them in our area, that live exceptional lives. They have the big houses, the nice cars, they've got money, great vacations. I would bet if you're like most, every single one of those people is a business owner and self-employed. So if the best life to be had is to be a business owner, entrepreneur, why is it that we've been taught to be employees? And what this is, you guys, is you need to have a series of aha moments with people. Nobody's going to join this business because of what we do, even the investment aspect. They might like it. But if you don't give them an aha moment and start to work and change the way that they think, they're not going to do this business. And that's the first aha moment is they kind of go, you know what they're going to say when you say that? They're going to go, huh, yeah. Yeah, I've never thought of that. Right, boom, that's an aha moment. We just got them to think a little bit differently. So our investment business allows freedom and financial independence because of why I'm not, and I'll tell them the micro community, the passive income, and I'll tell them again, if we get together again, I will not only get into what mutual funds are, how they work, but how we get paid on them. Because there's 3 ways we get paid on them. And that we'll say that for another time. Right. Then after I do that, I'm going to say, look, of course there's licensing involved. It's not difficult. If you can pass a background check, if you don't have a criminal record, you can get a license. It's not hard. And again, we'll get into that another time also. Again, all I wanted to do today was just kind of introduce you to it. Now what I'm going to do, that whole process, 15 at best 20 minutes. Now the rest of my interview is going to be talking to them, telling their story to try to get another aha moment and have them think differently. You have to. So you want to know what an aha moment is with a client? It's that life insurance versus income insurance thing. You know, when I'm with a client and we get into life insurance, I say, you know, life insurance, I'll be honest with you, we don't even think it should be called life insurance. Because if somebody passes away, you can't tap into an insurance policy to replace them like you can a car or a phone or a home, right? We ask people very often. I've never asked anybody, to be honest, but this is what I say. I said, when we ask our clients, or I'll ask somebody, what do you think your most valuable asset is? I get answers like my house, my 401k, my assets. And that's not correct. What people fail to realize is that their biggest asset is them, their ability to go to work every day and generate an income. And that income provides a lifestyle for those that are dependent upon them. And God forbid something happens to that person and they die, that income stops in most cases. And that lifestyle could be in jeopardy. And you see, life insurance is not life insurance. You're not protecting their life. It's income insurance, which is why we refer to it as income protection. That is such an aha moment with a client. The guy that's like, don't talk to me about life insurance is now the guy going, wow, you know, no one's ever, so that makes a lot of sense, right? You've won them over. So now you're going to spend the last part of this interview talking to them and telling their story. You have to tell their story. And you're going to ask some questions. You're going to say like, do you have any questions so far? Does this make sense? They say yes. And you say, you know, of everything you've seen so far, granted, you haven't seen a whole lot yet. There's a lot more information to come, but from what you've seen so far, what would you say piques your interest the most? And they might say, well, I really like that investment aspect, or I like the idea, you know, the financial independence that makes sense, or something. They're going to say something if they're interested. If they're looking at their watch and want to get out of there, that's just not for them. And that does happen, obviously. And then you're good. Okay. And then you might say something like, you know, have you ever thought about getting a professional license? Have you ever thought about entrepreneurship? Have you ever thought about being your own boss? And let them talk. Let them talk. There's no wrong answer. And I'm going to look at them, and there's three different people. There's young folks, there's people that are, say, 30s, early 40s that are raising a family, let's say. Not that young people don't have families, you get what I'm saying. And then there's the over 50 crowd. Okay. So depending who I'm going to talk to, I'm now going to tell their story. And how you tell their story, as I mentioned, I'm going to say, look, Mark, I don't know about you, but let me tell you where most people are that are your age in your situation. Right. And if it's a young person, I'm going to do that whole what I said. You know, you're first generation, you look at your parents, you love them, you respect them, but you don't want their life. You were raised on social media. You know, there's a world out there. You don't want a job. You're questioning college, but you don't know where to go or what to do. But the one thing about this Gen Z, they're not lazy, you guys. That's not what I mean. But they don't want to be an employee. Like, they were built for freedom. They just don't know how to define it and where to go to get it. So I'm going to talk about that securities aspect and how they can have that alone just with that. If they're in their 30s or late 20s or early 40s and they have kids, young kids, I'm going to say, I don't know about you, but let me tell you where most people are in your situation today. You know, they're fighting for their very lives. You know, it's not cheap to live in America anymore. You've got the days of the single income household are for the most part gone for most people. So you got mom and dad both working, and it's still barely getting by. And as these kids get older, they get more expensive. And you got mom and dad worried, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to cover college? How are we going to buy them a car? I mean, how are we going to, much less a wedding, right? And they don't know what to do. COVID was a shocker for most people. It was a wake-up call. They understand that they need to do things different. You know, I really believe that since COVID, my message to people is they need to understand that everything we've been taught about money, from what we do with it to how we make it, no longer works. And that's true. But so what does work? Where do we go? These families, they want a college fund, but they think they can't afford it. They know income protection is important, but there's so many scams out there with life insurance that they're afraid to ask. And they know they should save or invest, but they have no idea where to go or who to talk to, much less the money to afford it. And if they're a 32-year-old raising a family, they're sitting there nodding their head yes. They're going, that in subconsciously, that's me. See, I'm telling their story. And if they're over 50, I'm going to do, you know, they're looking down the barrel of retirement. And then I'm going to talk about this business, especially because of the investment 1099 opportunity, which we're the only one that offers it, offers people a chance to come somewhere, information based. They don't have to quit their job. They can set their own hours. They can define their own pace. And to be honest, it's extraordinarily credible. It's something to be proud of, to be the local investment person. And I'm going to just talk to them. And usually when I wrap it up, I'm going to say, look, Mark, I've had you here for about 40 minutes. I don't want to keep you any longer, but it seems like what you've seen at least piques your interest. Yeah. And he'll say, yeah, sure. So look, okay, well, here's ideally what I'd love to do. My interest is piqued as well. I can see myself working with you right now. You probably, if you're like most people in your situation right now, you like what you see. You might even be a little excited, but you got a lot of questions. Okay. And what you need right now is you need information. Okay. So I would encourage you, don't really talk to anybody yet, because you know enough to see it, not to explain it. I want to put some information together for you. I want to talk about licensing, how mutual funds work, how we get paid with the investment aspect. I'd love to get together with you tomorrow or the next day, even if it's over Zoom for 15 minutes. Do you have time? Yeah, he's going to do it. And we're going to set it and we're just going to go from there. I would say, way back when we talked about the company, have you ever heard of us? I would always throw in at the beginning, whether they heard of us or not. I want to let you know that if you look us up, you're going to see a lot of negative stuff. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. This just is what it, because they're going to go home. They're going to look up Primerica. Yeah. So he or she who speaks first wins. So at the beginning of the interview, when I say, we represent the products of a company called Primerica, heard of them? Yes, no. I'm going to say, well, let me tell you, we're big, blah, blah, but I'm also going to let you know that we are not liked in the industry. We never have been. And they've written a lot of bad stuff. I'll let you know that if you get out there and you look us up, you're going to see some positive stuff, but you're going to see a lot of negative stuff too, right? That's kind of normal, right? I just want to let you know. Most people do not get scared by that because they just know the nature of the internet. But in case you are, I just want to let you know, right? And we'll talk more about it. You got to throw it out there, okay, at the beginning. But at the end, so essentially, that is essentially the interview, if you will, if that makes sense, you guys.
I love that, Shane. I absolutely love it.
Appreciate it.
We don't want to monopolize your time and everything like that.
I'm happy to keep getting on and help you guys too. Whatever.
Yeah, we definitely want to do a follow up and multiple of them. And but you and I definitely want to do a one-on-one with you and have got some questions. But I think this is one last question I have for you.
And I think I'm going to come out and see you soon. Anyways, I'm going to do some friend stuff.
Oh, that's right.
We'll
Yeah,
talk about that. Yeah.
that's for sure. And
Yeah.
Rocky Point is only a 4 hour drive from Phoenix. And if you ever want to see a phenomenal beach, Kelly's place is incredible. So we definitely hang out down there.
A beach?
Yeah.
You know, I live on the beach in Pismo, right?
Oh, well, you haven't seen Rocky
Now,
Point.
I'm going to drag your happy ass to a NASCAR race and turn you into a real man. I'm just kidding.
I go to NASCAR every year.
Do you not? Do you really?
Of
Are you
course
a
I
race?
do.
I knew I liked you. I'm a race weirdo. I know everyone thinks it's boring and they're right, but I
I
love
love it. Oh my
I know.
God, NASCAR.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to
PIR,
see a bunch of cars go in a circle all day for 3 hours? Come on. What's wrong with these people?
I go there for the wrecks and the smell. I love the gasoline, the exhaust
Okay,
coming by.
go
You're
to
like,
your question. I'm sorry.
okay, yeah. So, okay, I wrote it down because I knew I was going to butcher it. Okay, when someone quits, how do you know if it was their issue or your leadership / you're not following the system?
Well, I think if somebody quits, you should always assume it was you because that all that can do is make you better. You got to remember the number one reason an unlicensed person joins and leaves is because something that somebody outside of the business said to them about the business. So that's why you've got to speak first. When they actually submit their IBA, you need to do a whole let me prepare you. Your friends are going to put you down. You're not going to fight. Let them know what people are going to say to them so they're not shocked, right? The number one reason people that are licensed leave the business is because of a dispute or a misunderstanding with their manager or their RVP. They think their manager doesn't like them. Their managers are mean. If you guys knew how many RVPs in this company are just not nice to their people, it would probably shock you. I don't understand it. So I would always tell people, my people keep quitting. I would say, do you love your people? Like genuinely. I mean, you could be one of those technically driven people who like you're a rocket scientist who just doesn't like people. Right. There is a category of people like that just shouldn't be working with people, right? The T's typically. But do you genuinely love your people? And they say, yeah. Okay, do they know that? Right. Your people need to know that you're there to support them. I feel like the idea of servant leadership has been lost in this company. You want to love on your people so much that when they feel like quitting, they won't because they don't want to disappoint you and let you down because they know you're not mad. They know you'd be sad and heartbroken if they left. So you've got to become a professional relationship builder first. But at the end of the day, not everybody joins and not everybody sticks around, right? So as long as they left cordially and it wasn't a blowout and they told you to shove it, right? If they just kind of faded away like a lot of people do, there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, man, we missed you. Is everything okay? And if they say, I just decided I don't want to do the business, just say, can I ask why? And there's nothing wrong with saying, is this something that I did? Because I would never want that, blah, blah, blah. So there's really no way to know. But on the front end, most people that leave in their first 90 days, 60 days, actually. So all you can do is all you can do. Love on them. Try your best to live and die by the 15 hours. It's not always easy because you're not in control of their schedule, right? And just make sure you're eliminating words like need. Don't say, Mark, what we need to do is get you out there with some people. You don't say that. Eliminate the word need. Just say, you know what, Mark, here's what I'd love to do. Replace need with I'd love to. What I'd love to do, Mark, we've met 5 or 6 times, 3 or 4 times. Here's what I'd love to do. I think you're going to do great. I'd love to get you out there, see some people, let you see this firsthand, get that field training bonus, earn that first contract, kind of make a name, just get your feet wet, get some experience, be able to let you see that the practical application of this. I'd love to see you do that. And he says, oh yeah, what do I got to do? Well, you probably think of some people, he might talk about the list. And I still don't use the word list, but yeah, you put down some people that and here's what we're looking for. We don't talk to them yet. And just let you know how it's going to work and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'd love to see you do that. Versus you need to set some appointments. You need to give me. See, I'm just telling you. I mean, there's a lot of grammar today, words not to use, but just love on them and say, here's what I'd love to see you do. Right. The only thing that I'm ever kind of stern on is me saying, look, I don't demand it, but the one thing that I ask is that you show up. If you don't show up, I mean, not to sound like a jerk, but I'll support you, but I really can't work with you that much because I know you're not going to stick around. Just be nice. Just be nice. Why is it so hard for people to just be nice to people? and not act like a boss. Mike Sharp used to always tell me, he says, Shane, your environment, which a lot of people think is their office. No, when you're talking to them on the phone, you're texting, or you're in person with them, or you're at a meeting, that's environment. You are environment for them. He's like, your environment needs to be a haven for people. If they want to go somewhere and get told what to do, bossed around and mistreated, there's no need to join this business because they get that at their job. He's like, nobody gets recognized. Nobody gets praised. Nobody gets encouraged. Nobody gets loved on. He goes, that's what you need to do to your people. You need to be excited when you talk to them. You need to say things like, Mark, we're 1 month in and I'm training Mark, or we're at a coffee shop or somewhere. I go, Mark, you have no idea how good you are. No, I'm just telling you, I know you're confident, you're really confident, but trust me, I've been doing this business for a long time. You have no idea how good you are, dude. I mean, I can see you in your own office as an RVP with 100 people in a room and see you leading the team. I'm just telling you, you know how powerful it is to say that to somebody? Because people don't get that. They don't get like, you're so good, you're great. So you got to build that haven for people, if that makes sense. All right, brother, we need to wrap this up because I had to go to the bathroom for like a half hour.
Shane.
Mark,
Hey.
Me too.
Quick, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Go for it.
Shane, thank you so much for the handout that we finally got after 20 years. I guess we never asked because it's in your audio. I didn't print the handout, but I'll give it to you on Monday.
That PDF, I actually made that last year.
Oh wow!
I put that together last year. People were asking, I just kind of subtly put it out there into the universe, kind of a thing.
But my question is, if it's possible, if you have a printout or something on your interview, we would love to have it. We took up a whole bunch of notes, but I know that we missed a lot of stuff.
I'm doing that right now because a lot of people want it. I don't have it written down. So I'm doing that right now. When I do, I will get it to Mark immediately.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Right. Shane, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
I love you guys. Thanks for having me.
It was his birthday yesterday. So he's 25 years old finally.
26, actually.
No, my bad. Yeah. Love you, brother. Have a good one.
Love you too.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you very much, Shane.
Right.
We'll talk soon.
Man.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
All right. So was that a happy surprise?
Yes,
That
sir.
was
awesome.
freaking awesome, Mark.
Mark,
Thank
you
you.
recorded it,
Thank
right?
you so much.
You are still recording?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Turn it out.
I tell you.